Formation process, is that what we're dealing with? Chapter 9?
Yes,
Yes,
chapter
indeed.
9, the policy formation process. I really thought this chapter was good to me, in my opinion, because it dived into, establishing policy and just different ways that they do it. One of the pages, 170, when you see like the diagram of policy planning groups, to me, I guess it just shows the foundation of how, they establish rules to either get resources or, do research, lawmaking, and, it goes from media to corporation, reports, just really
Yeah, he
is,
had a graph.
yeah, it was the graph.
He got very
Yeah.
detailed in this chapter.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
did. Oh my goodness. Extensive. The arrows going everywhere. And I said, that just, since we're talking about what he went back, I think the earliest was like the 1910, when he was talking about either one of the foundations or the um, private interest groups. The,
mm-hmm.
let me find it. Goes back to the Ford Foundation, which has their, you know, hands, it looks like, in quite a bit.
All right.
The think tanks, that's it. I froze on it.
Oh, the think tanks.
Um,
But I don't know, you
yeah,
look at that chart, and I don't think, I mean, when you look at the chart and you see all the things that it takes to form policy, I mean, black folks are right there, right? Like, we're running right close, neck and neck.
it's
Neck and
It's a
amazing.
real tight race.
Jeez.
neck. All right.
And the think tanks and the foundations. I like how he starts with just to get the history of them,
Hmm.
and then discusses, I guess, well, I said more current times than was the mid '90s. Um, Political sphere, focusing on the Republican takeover with Gingrich, and how the think tanks played into that
Mm-hmm.
also, and then ends it with focusing on African Americans, the black, the impact on. I mean, sprinkled that throughout the chapter, but really at the end, it's on the impact on our people and
Think
what.
tanks, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
thanks.
you remember that time when we formed
Yes.
the think tanks after the civil, oh yeah, that's right. Sorry.
Oh man. Just, just what we can do at that point, what we could. I think it's kind of past that point because it would require politicians, black politicians, working in the interest of the black community, and it's. I think it's really gone past point where we can, in any great numbers, pull them back into focusing on us versus the people of color,
Mm-hmm.
hands across America, looking out for everybody else's interests, while other people of color, quote unquote, look out for their own interests. Our folks don't seem to um, get that too much anymore in the political arena.
All right.
Gotta look out for
This
us.
this chapter was a lot to digest. So
It was a lot.
what I'm wondering is ultimately, like, what did the both of you get out of it? Like, what did you take away from it? Because it's a lot
I,
of minutia of details. So I just want
yes,
like an overview of how you feel.
I
So,
think it shored up what I was. I don't know if it was the last chapter or chapter 7 or chapter 8, where I was saying that in order for us to do it right here, we would have to go outside of this country to forge any real um, um, any real partnerships. To be able to get something done, it is just too. It is to the bone. It's too intricate. Um, Too much of everybody else's interests is being looked out for us to get into the game at this late stage. Because when we were kind of into it, he mentioned one, but the Ford Foundation, I think, was helping shore up. I'd have to find the page where he was talking about with black institutions and how originally it was missionaries and religious focus with money, higher institutions of learning, and then it turned into the industrial side of the think tanks and the foundations and things like that. And it's too much. Me just looking at this, it's too much for us to even try to catch up. I think at this point where we are, again, this was the 90s. He had this put this out. Yeah. It's just we're too far gone now.
Yeah, I would say
not at this point anymore.
I would say from overall this chapter really, I understand how Hollop, during your experience at the forums, when you ask a person, from the conscious community, what's your policy, how they get stuck on that. Because reading this chapter shows that it's so many moving pieces. You really got to be very thorough and detailed of, providing the people whatever service or, what you say you're going to do as a politician. And so when it came to just, talks about the foundations, we talked about the diagram, even with the think tanks and how with the elites, being influential in these private rooms and discussing, whatever needs to be done. Like, it's not having a policy. It's more than just, an idea. It's a process, and you have to break that process down. So that was really my overall understanding of policy formation.
I noticed that one of the habits of the conscious community is that I don't think, it seems like when I hear people, and I hear it when it comes to like people talking outside of their, their field, that most things are, they try to use logic when most things, when it comes to knowledge, is counterintuitive. If that makes any sense. Now, you know what counterintuitive is, right? Hello?
Like, okay, well, intuitive, you're talking about like intuition, right? So
right.
Counterintuitive.
Intuition or logic. Counterintuitive means that it's like something that goes counter to what. All right, I'm trying to think of an example. A perfect example: guns. When they talk about gun control, right?
Okay.
I've heard people make the argument that, well, if you want to stop, the gun violence, what you got to do is make it so that there aren't as many bullets inside of the clip. Because logically, if there's less bullets, less people get killed. That's an example of of people not being counterintuitive. They're being intuitive. They're thinking logically, but what they're saying don't make any sense.
Okay.
Because it's leaving out too many things. First of all, changing clips is about 3 seconds. And if you're talking about somebody who's really skilled, probably less than that.
Right.
So it's like it doesn't make any sense what they're looking at as a solution. They're not being counterintuitive. And I think that you find that a lot in the conscious community. Like, all right, take for instance, well, you can't go and establish something overseas. You got to first establish something here. Logically, that sounds like it makes sense.
Right.
But it doesn't.
Okay. I get what you're saying now.
And that's usually done by people who are outside of their field and outside of their depth. So they have to resort, when you don't have knowledge, you have to resort to intuition.
Right.
And I noticed that a lot in the conscious community. And the thing that I like about Amos, he's very information based. Like, he gives a lot of detailed information. Mm-hmm. Like the last part of the chapter, which I think is the one, it was almost like a summary of everything you read before, was the need for African-centered information and strategy centers. Like that whole thing leading toward the end of the chapter.
Yes.
Where he's just talking about what we need, like a Black and African intelligence community and stuff like that. I tell you, man, that's why I said I want to know what your thoughts was at the end of the chapter. Like when you absorbed that chapter, what was your main takeaway?
My main takeaway is that we definitely need to do something off of the shores of the United States for our people in order for us to progress. It's just, this is fantastic. The chapter was, but at the end with the bullet points, detail, and it's like, yes, this is what needs to be done. I think us in this country, we're past this point because the focus, it would take another generation, I think, to kind of wash out the focus of helping everybody else as being the answer to helping ourselves. The focus isn't solely on us. Whenever there's discussion of us, it's like we got to pull in everybody else to try to get an answer and a solution to the issues and the problems we're facing. This was fantastic, but I think at that point would have been when could have really hit these things and had more of an impact. Ultimately, overall, we need to do something outside of the United States.
I'm going to read the last part of the chapter. Black universities and think tanks must increase their African-centered research, their consultancy relations with the Black community, and fully engage themselves with Black community and development on all levels and in all areas. For all African-American controlled institutions must come to the realization that their primary reason for being is the protection and embedment of African peoples. They must recognize their place and the role they must play in vast network of institutions, groups, and individuals designed to achieve these ends. For if African people cannot be protected and their quality of life optimized by Black power, then what is the point?
Yes.
I hope that when y'all read this, it gives you a clearer insight to me. You probably understand me more the more you read this book. And you probably understand why I'm so impatient. Why I have a hair trigger when it comes to this. I can't, man. We are wasting a lot of time. And like you said, this book was written in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, I should say compiled in the 90s. I think it came out. Yeah.
94, I think it came out.
We are wasting time having a philosophical conversation about, like, we spoke. I don't know if you heard the live stream this morning or last into the afternoon. Did you guys hear it?
Yep.
Yes.
You heard the whole thing?
Yeah. Almost all of it.
We spent the last hour or so talking about whether or not we should have something outside of the United States of America.
All right.
November 21st, 2021, at around 2-something o'clock in the afternoon, and we are still having that discussion. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I respect Baruti and everything. Like, he's cool. He's respectful. So as long as you're cool and respectful and you're talking to me, I can talk to you. But I'm really, 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 I'm at my wit's end.
Yeah.
Wondering what the fuck, man? Why are we still talking about this? Mm-hmm. Why are we still acting confused when we're not confused? I don't get it.
Yeah, even the part I was mentioning to Elena where I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about having multiple bases of operations and
Oh
we haven't even
Lord.
established, one yet. Like that was another
Oh
thing
God.
too.
Oh, I can't take it, man. I can't
Yeah.
take it. Multiple. We don't need to stick with one thing. We can have multiple. I mean, we can not just Liberia. We can have it all over. I'm like, oh God.
Can we set up
All
one?
I'm hearing is stalling.
Mhm.
We can't go overseas because we haven't named ourselves yet. Stalling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just stalling and stalling. We can't go nowhere. We don't have speak an African language yet. More stalling. So by the time we do all the stuff that people are suggesting, what time frame is going to
Right.
pass?
Right. You're talking about doing that here.
Right.
The current state we're in, you're talking about somehow that's going. We'll get it together to do that here, and then go.
And if we could do it here, what are we going for?
Yeah. Yeah.
If it was so easy to do it here and to do all of that stuff, this wonderful things here in America, then what's the purpose? If we manage to accomplish it, why leave?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
I thought the examples. I think Garvey was brought up at one point, and maybe like with the creating Kwanzaa and some of the
And how long did
and
that
the
take?
holiday. Yeah, and I said, and at the time period with the explosion of African thought and I'm black and I'm proud and just that positive. I mean, there are certain periods where you had that. It was. It was then. It's a different time. Doesn't last. And I think Jabari had mentioned that. So yeah, there are times when things like that pop up and happen. We'll say pop up when they happen. But there's a reason why it didn't last through the 70s, 60s, and 70s. Then boom,
We're not
talking about
batting. We
African
don't have a
centered.
good. We don't have a good batting average, Helena.
Mhm.
We don't have a good batting average. I've seen it with my own eyes because I've been around long enough. I've seen men and women come up under Islam, right? In African Senate knowledge and all that stuff. They dressing with the 3/4 of cloth, eyes covered, the da. Next thing I know, the wife done took that shit off and got a belly ring and a tattoo on her back. I done seen the kids just went left on everything that they were taught. And you know why? Because you don't have them in an environment that's conducive to what you're teaching them. You teach them one thing in the home and then they got to go out in the world. And the world usually wins.
That's right. I've seen it too, Hollip. I've seen it too. Absolutely.
So this concept of us having something here and building something here is just, it's delusional. I don't know what people are thinking. You can't even give me an example of this working.
A friend
And yet
appreciable time.
Yeah, we still talking. We still talking about it. We still talking. Damn, I don't know. Nationhood. I mean, is that really what we want to do?
What's upsetting is it's genuine. There are people who genuinely don't get like you said, what needs to happen?
It's insane. It's to the point where I feel like I'm being gaslit. It's like I feel like when I have such a big problem with it, I seriously, because I don't want to be delusional. That's one of my biggest things. I don't want to be in a bubble. So that's why I'm constantly asking. I'm not being sarcastic. I ask the people around, am I being out of line? Am I being unreasonable? Because I'm feeling a certain way, but I'm not getting that sense that other people are feeling that same way. So then I start questioning myself. Maybe I'm being, out of line.
At all.
You understand? It's like I question myself, and that's a perfect, when you're gaslit, that's what you usually do.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. I know that I've said on multiple occasions that I don't want 50 million black people in Liberia. I know I said that. Is it me? I mean, if this is like a beautiful mind, am I thinking that I'm saying it, but I'm only saying it to myself and nobody can really hear it?
It's counterintuitive.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? Are you listening to what I'm saying? Because I know I'm saying it. I have never said 50 million people go to Liberia, yet people keep going, well, it seems like what you're saying is you want all black people to go. What?
I don't know.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. These conversations are really tiring.
Yeah.
And we can't agree on one thing. Yeah, Liberia is a nation state. We can't all agree on that. Well, why Liberia? Why don't we make Ghana the nation state? Because if Ghana was going to be the nation state, it would have been it.
It would have been it
Right.
already.
And I say for folks who've got suggestions, okay, well, give us your opinion on it then.
What are you doing about it?
You tell us. Yeah, you tell us.
We're going to go to Rwanda after those people built up their country for 20-something years after a genocide and come and establish some nation state on their land. That makes a lot of sense. If we're going to go over to Liberia, there should only be for African Americans? Really? So what's going to happen to the people that's there?
No, I think people make assumptions, hear something, and then just start making assumptions instead of asking the questions, which was good about earlier today, that there were questions that were being asked. And so even if it's something that you kind of, your jaw drops like, huh? It's like, okay, this is genuine. Let's answer this, or, I'll give you my opinion on it.
Yeah, I thought overall the conversation was good. It's like we got a lot of information out and a lot of explanations and stuff. And I just can't help but feel like, what are we doing? People are making moves. Other people are making moves. Other people are seeing where the planet is going, and they're arranging their societies in a place so that they will be capable of keeping up. Black people in this country are just twisting in the wind. Wherever the white man go, that's where we going. What's the future? I don't know. And yet I'm hearing discussions about how much high value men we have in our community.
Yeah, I saw that take that you did on oh dear. It's called the Big Booty Support Group.
Yeah. Latasha.
I haven't had a chance to hear that yet.
The Big Booty Support Group.
I would be in there.
Oh, I was listening to it, and then I saw.
Fully support the booty.
Oh,
I said, "Wait a minute! Did this say the Big Booty Support Group?"
Yes, you are reading it right. There's no mistakes.
Well, shout outs to the big.
I posted in the general chat so you can see.
Shout outs to the Big Booty Support Group. But yeah, I saw your take. And yeah, you made a great point with, the whole deal of high value man, because, individually it's about themselves. Like, even if they're, making six figures and, they got connections and they're, wearing suits or whatever, however the term goes, they're still here. And it's just like, well, then how come all the high value men aren't coming together to get some real power and really consider themselves as, like, high value, or just men in general? Like,
you know what high powered man means to me within the context of how they're presenting it?
What does it mean to you?
A high value man is no different than a high value escort.
Oh wow.
They're judging high value by sexual marketplace value, meaning I make a lot of money, I check all the boxes, so therefore I should have the pick of the litter when it comes to women. That's all it's about. So it's like, how is that any different than an escort or a lady of the evening putting on her finest attire so she can attract men for the night? What's the difference? So it's, to me, it's like masturbation. It's a whole lot of energy that produces nothing. You know, it's just, that's what it is. It's just a whole bunch of talking, a whole bunch of energy revolving around nothing. And I'm telling you, this is what, and I mean this sincerely, Helena. Mm-hmm. You, my friend Mariella, Latasha, my friend Andrea, a few people, I can count them on one hand. You guys are the epitome of what Black women should be.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And I'm very protective of y'all, and I get highly insulted when y'all look at yourself, like when you see yourself as representing these chicken heads out here. Me and Matt, I always like correct Marietta because she always like on this, you know, she loved to, oh, these women are beautiful. I was like, no, they're not. You are. Don't mistake them for you. Because you don't have to deal with them. I do. You guys are unique, and you guys are special, and you guys are rare.
It's appreciated.
And if I was wrong, there'd be a slew of women up in these BAIO forums soaking in this knowledge. Where are they? Oh, I must have missed them. Are they underneath the rug somewhere? Where are they? Nowhere to be fucking found because they're not interested in it.
There's so much noise out there. So much noise.
And they are attracted to it. They're attracted to it like moths to a flame. Any silly shit gets their attention. But the stuff that you're doing right now, going through a book like Blueprint for Black Power, they're not in any way remotely interested in that. Mm-hmm. But yet they want this strong Black man that they keep talking about. You want a strong Black man, but you're not interested in anything that a strong Black man would be interested in. Because a strong Black man, to me, would be about his people. And I made that point all the time. You want this guy who's supposed to be loyal to you and for this and for that, and yet you dating clowns. So you want to take Lil Wayne and turn him into Malcolm X?
Oh no. Oh no.
And then get shocked when he act like Lil Wayne. Then I'm thinking you want Lil Wayne. That's what I'm thinking. Because a woman that wanted Malcolm X wouldn't be nowhere near a Lil Wayne. Which is why I say, I pay attention to it. My brother said it, rest in peace. He said he pays no attention to what a woman says. He only pays attention to what she responds to.
Mm-hmm. I got a question in regards to this chapter. Going back to the diagram in page 170. As BAIO, we are a social network. But I was wondering, like, where do you see us lying in the diagram? Like, will we lie under, I don't know, national news media, or like just the like?
Yeah, it would be more under news media because that's where you disseminate the propaganda. And what we're trying to do is disseminate propaganda. Propaganda is not a negative word. It's just a technique.
Right. The technique, yeah.
It's like a way for you to instill, like, Manipulation is another word that people use as a pejorative, but it's not.
Right.
I mean, whenever you try to convince somebody of your point of view, you're trying to manipulate them, technically.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's nothing wrong with the word. It's like people just have these buzzwords and there's negativity attached to words when words themselves are just, it's just a word. It's just a way to explain something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would fall in the news and media. Let me see. I'm going to go back to that chart. Let's see. Yeah. National news media. Yeah, national news media, and I guess the closest thing to it would be foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about like institutions?
Institutions, yeah. So then, looking at the arrows, when we are collaborating and such, then that means what? Universities, the policy plan groups, government commissions and councils, they would come to us to
It would be disseminated through us.
disseminate through us. Okay. So
It's like
we're
if you
putting
notice,
that,
all the arrows are pointing to, like the 3 arrows are pointing directly to news and national media.
yeah.
That's the outlet that would disseminate the information. Where it says public attention, executive policies, executive agencies for president, blah blah blah.
Right.
So it's just it's a very intricate network
right.
where one thing influences the other thing. It's like an intertwine.
Intertwine. Okay.
And this is why I say it's kind of silly to ask one person how do they create a nation,
Yeah.
because it takes all of those elements
Yeah.
just to form policy, and that's after you create the nation.
Yeah.
The problem is people aren't being involved, and it's the same issue like that they have politically. If you can't engage the population and get them involved in the political system, then what happens is the charlatans get in and they get away with murder because nobody's watching the fort. So what do? They line their pockets up. And their issue is, how can I get the most shit into my pocket? It's not about representing their constituency. Because they figure by the time my term is up, I'll have enough money amassed that I don't really need to run for office again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since we're not putting people on the guillotine for being traitors, I guess,
Right.
they feel like they can get away scot-free.
Yep. Most definitely.
Definitely right. Yeah, very detailed chapter. I mean, really, if somebody asks how will one change the nation, I'll just show them the diagram.
And keep in mind, that's just for policy.
Exactly. We didn't even get to, the other parts of the process. So,
At some point, I think he references the master plan that was in Destruction of Black Civilization. Because he talks about Chancellor Williams, too. was somebody that he read and he respected. And actually, that was the first time I had seen a plan. Like when I read Discussion of Black Civilization, I'm like, oh shit, this dude mapped out a whole fucking structure for a government. But the problem is, our people are so fucking myopic and one-dimensional in their thinking. You don't have to do everything verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the point. Like when somebody gives you a business plan, it's just giving you a structure on how to put together information. We don't necessarily have to do it even the way that he said to do it, but the structure is what matters. And then you can change that and adapt it and customize it to your needs. But we look at everything like, and I guess this comes from that religious thing, because people read the Bible, and the Bible is not really like, it's the word. So you don't want to change a word in the Bible. You got to just read it the way that it was written. And that's the reason why people who are raised on that can't think. They don't even know what it means to have a thought. And like I said, one of the deepest statements I ever heard was from Alton Maddox in The Slave. He said, most people have never had a thought. And I remember when he said that, I was like, that's impossible. At the time when I heard it, I could not comprehend what he was saying. Now I understand completely.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right. Some people go their whole life without having a thought. They might have that thought right before they die. To keep it real. Right before they die, they go, oh shit, I fucked up.
And that's why they wish they were never white.
Right.
I mean, again, he just looking to find this paragraph for this section. Just hammers home the importance of, say, African Americans, Pan-African communities to do it and fund it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
He says and again, at this point, this was published in 98, I think it was, but compiled, I think, started in 94 or something like that when he started. Mm-hmm. But he said, at that point, there's a severe need for the African American and Pan-African communities to develop African-funded special interest and policy formation institutions, as well as several world-class universities and research institutions. We must recognize that the major function of education involves securing the survival of a people, advancing their interests, enhancing their quality of life. I mean, it just like over how many different ways, and it's beautifully said. And the point is, we have got to do it. Mm-hmm. Can't be hand in hand with everybody else. And that's why I said I think at this point it's just, we aren't at that point anymore where this would be, the way to go with where we are now. That just it's hand in hand with everybody else. It's like, no, that's not going to do it for our people. It's just not. We have to do it. Literally, we have to do it. And just again, and also in this, didn't realize just how far back, like again with the Ford Foundation, the funding of Black institutions is like, I think virtually everyone. Mm-hmm. There's an interest, even if they're kind-hearted and thoughtful and wanting to promote self-sustainability. Amongst the Black folks coming out of slavery or what have you. The whole point is that there's still the outside interest that has to be met to a certain extent to have that money supporting our institutions. And at some point it could be, they're still gaining from way, the way things are ordered, as far as the white community having the advantages and the preferences and what have you. And that in us, we can get to a certain point and it's like, okay, whoa, enough. No, us to be truly free, it's got to be us doing it.
Yeah,
It has to be.
Yeah, pardon me from I'm just jumping in or whatever, but I do see the education in like colleges or those third institution that could be a dynamic institution in Liberia. Having to go to the continent for that education for us by us.
Who was that speaking?
Ekandari.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just this. Yeah, this really. There was so much information packed in this chapter, and it's just someone was like, "Oh my god!" Just feel like the weight of the world on our people's shoulders. If we really want to do something, it's just there's quite a bit, man. From every aspect of society, you see where it's honed and refined to service not our people. Main thing, not our people.
And it doesn't help that our people make everything so fucking complicated too.
Absolutely right. It's on top of everything you can't get. Just look at it. Just look at this chapter. As I said that for the last chapter and the chapter before that. Just look at one chapter. You grasp, if anything, that doing it right here. Whatever you think, nation within a nation, or integrating with society, somehow you think that's a pathway as a people for us to progress and advance, and it's just no. I don't know how there's still questions, but there are.
Yeah, we have to realize that no matter how great the information was in a book from the 90s, we have information that's current right now. And that's the reason why you have to constantly be updating based on the information. The more information you get, the differently you have to move.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be stuck in time and reading this book like we read in the Bible.
Right.
Yeah.
See how it applies to what's going on now, and update our information. See what's happening now. What's the landscape now compared to what was happening back then?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things that he predicted are happening.
Absolutely.
The reason why he was able to predict it is it's no different than what we can do now. He saw trends happening at his time and was able to see where it was going. It's not as amazing as people think. You have to be well ready. You have to be looking for them, because we can do that now.
Yeah,
definitely.
The way I look at it.
No, what was you saying?
No, I was just going to say the way I'm looking at it now is where we are now. Just what you were talking about with. I mean, basically, it's like playtime online for a lot of folks. So I'm like, we can't even. There's no way in the world we're too. As it is right now, just there's too much out there and too many distractions, and not the focus. Many great numbers, not the focus on us getting out of this situation. There's a lot of playtime.
Here's something. Me and Jabari was talking about this briefly today, about how technology is changing the way that systems are going to be operating and working. Because I know for a fact that automation has basically replaced just about every industry. The last one left is the service industry.
Mm-hmm.
And once they figure that one out, there's going to be some issues.
Yeah.
Because you can't have a society where people aren't working. So then you either going to have to create jobs or you have to change society.
Yeah.
See, this is when you're thinking about the future.
Mm-hmm.
With these maglev technology and hyperloop systems, is making it so that you can work in different parts of the country and different parts of the world.
Yeah.
When those things become fully operational and interconnected, it won't be a big deal to go to California for your job. Because it won't take that long to get there.
Mm-hmm. Even going back to what you were saying earlier with the technology, we actually discussed a little bit of this in my digital literacy class. You know, that if the people don't catch up in terms of, learning IT or just at least the basics in order to survive, then whoever's in control of, with AI and, the new innovations of technology years to come, like, pretty much we're screwed, because then it's going by their terms and we don't have, a piece of that or anything.
Yeah, you'll have as much say in that as you did when analog went digital.
Right.
What say did you have?
Mm-hmm.
What was your input? Did your input matter? All you did was just get the new technology.
Exactly.
Like a good little bitch. This is really sad, man. It's really fucking sad, and it's really fucking frustrating, and it's irritating, and everything above.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Wasting a whole lot of fucking time. Having nonsensical conversations.
Yeah.
Just not catastrophic enough.
Yeah, enough.
There has to be enough. We need
a meteor coming. That's what we need. We need a meteor hitting the center of the earth and causing, tsunamis and shit in order for people to get it.
The killings have become normalized. The attacks have become normalized. The videos have become normalized. People adjust and just somehow just keep fighting. We'll make it right here, and you just it's not.
Yeah, we don't want to run away.
Yeah,
stay right where you are and let me whoop your ass.
Well, I think we've covered a bit from this chapter.
Well,
chapter let's see, we're on chapter 10. Yeah, chapter 10. The candidate selection process.